Hey guys, welcome back to the Jay's Fit Down podcast. I've got another awesome guest back here, Nick. We haven't had him back on in a while, so I wanted to get him on the show today. We got a lot to talk about, Nick, so thank you for coming on, man, and talking some football with us once again.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Jay. It's exciting time of year, man. Everybody's reported to camp. We're starting to see, one of my favorite things of this time of year is just getting on Twitter because it's like everybody's, he's the man now. Like, this is the best year. He's primed for a breakout. It's like, dude, that's day 2 of practice. Like, maybe take a big deep breath. But I'm the same way. Like, I'm getting excited too. I'm like, oh wow. I'm starting doing notes for my fantasy team and stuff like that. Like, it's just exciting. We've been deprived of real NFL football for like 6 months. So it's time. Like, let's get back to it.
Yeah, let's get back to it, man. Yeah, it's awesome. Let's hype up somebody after day 2 of training camp and then bash them after day 2 of training camp.
They're trash. Yeah. Oh my God. Can you believe they dropped that pass?
Like, come on, man. Like,
I know.
But on that note, man, like I said, training camp is underway. A lot of guys won't be practicing though. Namely Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley. I think he might be, but guys, running backs, man, running backs have been the story lately. So I just want to hear your thoughts, man, about like this whole situation going on with them and them not really being appreciated. What is your stance on that?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the NFL has kind of worked it to where that salary cap, they keep it low, right? By not giving running backs big contracts. So they make it so that when they do need to use a franchise tag on a running back, they can do it. It only costs them $10 million. Like, I say only $10 million, but they're the 3rd lowest position group, period. Like, only kickers and punters are lower than them and long snappers. But it's just unbelievable how much the running back position just kind of has been taken for granted over the past decade. It's just like, oh, these guys are replaceable, no big deal, whatever. But, growing up, man, running backs were it. Like, you were the best on your team if you were the running back, and now it's like, maybe don't let your kids be running backs when they're young because they're not going to make as much money as everybody else. And there's going to be zero, job security for them as well. They'll cut them in a heartbeat the second they think they lost a step, and they'll get some new young kid to come in there. It's weird how things are going right now. Like, I like that all the running backs kind of got together and had that Zoom meeting, and they're talking about how they can fix it and this and that. And I think the next time there is sort of a new contract for the collective bargaining agreement, I think that's going to play a big role in it. And I don't know how they do it. If it maybe is kind of restructuring how the whole franchise tag thing works, where it's not just based on position. I don't know. Because I know the owners aren't going to want to let go of that because they use it frequently to keep these running backs kind of under wraps and able to, spend that money elsewhere. And it's just a weird world when you're giving a quarterback $50 million, but it's like running backs, we'll give them a fifth of that. It's like, how many games are won and lost by the running backs? Like, they're much more important than they're getting paid right now.
Yeah. I mean, a prime example is Daniel Jones. Now, I'm not a Daniel Jones hater. I like the improvement he made. I feel like he can be a solid starter. But if you look like, like him and Saquon, like, now they gave Daniel.
Who would you take first? Yeah.
Like, come on.
If you're picking a team right now and you're like, okay, who do I want on my team, Saquon Barkley or Daniel Jones? You're picking Daniel Jones if you have one of the 20 other quarterbacks that are better than him. Like, that's the only way you're not going to pick Saquon Barkley, because Saquon Barkley, he's a playmaker. He changes the game. When you're planning to go against the New York Giants, you're not worried about what Daniel Jones is going to do to you, right? You know what Daniel Jones is. You're focused on Saquon Barkley. You have somebody spying Saquon Barkley the whole game. You know that he's going to come out of the backfield. He's going to catch passes. He is electric. The fact that he had to renegotiate that, the stupid franchise tag to get like $900,000 more. And it's not even guaranteed that he's going to get that. Like, those are incentive based. It's just, I just feel like the running backs are just being taken way too much for granted right now.
Yeah. I mean, and Austin Eckler even mentioned this too, a guy who is a very prominent running back in this league. I think a little underrated too, if you ask me. He's been great for the Chargers since he stepped in for Melvin Gordon. But he mentioned, like, it's like we're only appreciated when we're, like when we're needed, when we're that's when we get our attention, right? It's like when you need those those big games from running back, or whatever. But we're not the position as a whole is just not valued at all anymore.
And these are guys that are going to touch the ball 20 to 30 times a game, and you're not going to pay them. Like that, it doesn't add up to me. That math doesn't equate. And I think that honestly, I think it might hurt the game in the long run, right? Because like I said, maybe these kids in high school or in early on in college are looking at this like, oh man, why am I going to go be a running back when I could transition over, to this other position? I go be a middle linebacker. Middle linebackers make a ton more money. Like they could do all this other stuff. And it's like, is the running back position going to get worse in the next 5 to 10 years because these guys are looking elsewhere because they're like, well, I'm not going to go get beat up every single play in order to make like the third least amount of money on the football field. Like that doesn't make a whole lot of sense financially.
It doesn't at all. So I hope they get this. I mean, I don't know, man. This has to stop, because these guys, they do so much. I mean, especially it's a late in the game and you just need to run the clock out. You need that running back you can count on and get those yards and just kind of milk the clock a little bit, that is going to go and get that first down. These guys are extremely important, but they're not being treated as such. So.
It's a shame. It is a shame. That something will get done. It won't be soon, though. Unfortunately, everything in the NFL goes at a snail's pace because it's all about money, and the owners have all the power. They really do. I mean, they have all the power, and unfortunately, until something can change along that power dynamic, it's just going to keep being business as usual.
Right. And speaking of a prominent running back, Dalvin Cook, who is a guy that. Weirdly, the Vikings, want to move on from.
Got to save that money. Got to pay those cornerbacks and those quarterbacks.
Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. So, and so they move on from Cook, and recently he said that he's very high on the Jets. He's supposed to visit them today, I believe. So, if he goes,
it'd be a huge move, right?
What do you think?
I mean, I think it'd be big. You're talking about a veteran running back that knows how to get the job done. He's been at the top of the food chain there when it comes to running backs for the last 4 or 5 years. He's been a stud. When he stays healthy, he is one of the best. And maybe that's something good, too, that he can go to a place like New York that doesn't necessarily need that number one guy that's going to carry the ball 25 times. They can kind of lean back a little bit, or at least in the early part of the season, kind of let him get into it, let him not get overworked, and maybe they can avoid him missing any time. And that's kind of, I think that's a lot what the 49ers are going to do with Christian McCaffrey this year is they know that he's had some history with injuries in the past. And I think that they're going to kind of use Elijah Mitchell a lot more. We saw that when Mitchell was healthy. He got the ball a lot. They weren't just going to feed McCaffrey the ball 30 times, which is good. That's not the NFL that we're in anymore. Like there aren't too many of those running backs anymore that can take it 30 times a game and play all 17 games. It's just not going to happen. So I think the Jets would be really smart to sign Dalvin Cook because with Hard Knocks and with Aaron Rodgers and everything, like just keep throwing this wood on the fire, make it big. Like let's go. Let's see what they could do there in New York. It's going to be a fun storyline to follow all year long for sure.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be exciting. You add him to offense as Garrett Wilson,
right?
Breece Hall, who will be healthy this year. So maybe they do like a running back by committee approach. Split it up, and it's going to be. It's really going to be interesting to see what happens.
It is.
I mean, I thought personally he was going to go to Miami, but
that would have made a lot of sense. He still might. Who knows?
Who knows? So we'll see what happens. I mean, now I also heard a rumor, Nick. I don't know if it's true. Devontae Adams apparently might want to reunite with Aaron Rodgers in New York. I don't know, man.
I don't buy it. I think he loves Vegas, man. You see that there's footage of Jimmy throwing to him now too. So hopefully that's a good combination there with Jimmy G and Devontae Adams. And they still owe him a bunch of money. Like, I think it'd be hard to move Devontae Adams at this time with the cap hit that they would take for that. You're talking about a team that is on the up and up, right? I mean, Josh Jacobs was the number one running back in the NFL for fantasy last year, which means that his on-the-field production was huge. And it's going to be big again this year if they can get him into camp. And you go out and you sign a guy like Jimmy G and you let Derek Carr go because you feel like that was an area that you could improve. And is it going to be an improvement over Derek Carr? Only time can tell. Like, can Jimmy G stay on the field? I mean, he's led a team to a Super Bowl. he's a good quarterback when he's there. And hopefully the Raiders are banking a lot on him, and not giving that money to Josh Jacobs and just franchise tagging him. And they are able to add some other pieces when they do that. Like, I understand the franchise tag. It makes sense. It allows for these general managers to make moves and pay guys and do other things while still securing guys that could get a lot more money elsewhere or on your own team. So the franchise tag makes sense to me from a business standpoint, and I'm a guy who runs a business, so I'm always looking at those angles. But as a person who also loves the game of football and wants to see everybody treated fairly, it's rough what they're doing. And Oakland is Las Vegas is a prime example for how you kind of use that franchise tag to your advantage to sign other guys and try to take that next step.
Yeah, man, it's so we'll see. But I don't buy that rumor at all.
No, I don't buy it.
Some things you can't believe that you see and you read because they don't make any logical sense whatsoever. Like, why would Devontae Adams do that?
Yeah, and maybe he wants to. Who wouldn't want to play with Aaron Rodgers? He had his best years with Aaron Rodgers, right? They had a formidable connection, but doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Yeah, and the Jets. It's like you said, they're going to be a fun storyline to follow. So I'm excited to see how they gel and how they work, man. They got some players I'm really excited to see. Their defense is going to be really good, So realistically, I could see them winning. I say about 11 games, possibly 10.
Yeah. It's the NFL, right? And it's a quarterback-driven league, and you went out and got one of the greats of all time. So hopefully, if he's got anything left in the tank, he's got a lot of young talent around him. That could be, and that defense isn't going to get any worse. With Robert Saleh leading the helm over there, they're going to be a good football team. Watch out for them. 10, 11 wins, I don't think is out of the question at all.
Yeah, not at all. So we'll see. But the AFC East, it will be a little
still
bit
toff division.
Yeah,
with Miami and Buffalo, right? New England could always pop back too. Who knows?
Yeah. So I'm so glad football's back, man.
We're so close.
You're right. But what really got my attention, man, lately, was the whole thing with Sean Payton, man. I don't know if you heard about it, but his
and then Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah. So basically, for people who don't know, he said that Nathaniel Hackett was like a horrible coach last year. He did the worst coaching job in NFL history for the Broncos, which he isn't completely wrong, but that's not something you just go out and say. What are your opinions, man?
I don't know. It just seems weird. It seems like maybe there's some beef behind the scenes between those two guys that we don't know about. Because why do you go out and say something like that? Like, just say, oh yeah, the previous regime did some things we don't agree with, and we're going to move forward. Like, why bring all the attention to yourself and put this big old bullseye on yourself, especially when you play the Jets? He's went over there. He's the offensive coordinator of the Jets now. Like, you're going to have to play that guy. And I mean, the cameras are clearly going to be watching them after the game is over to see if there's any sort of, chatting on the field afterwards. But it just seems Bush League to me. Like, it just seems below Sean Payton to go and say stuff like that. I don't know. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, it does. And Sean Payton is as brilliant as a coach as he is, and this being from a Falcons fan and going against his Saints for a long time, at the end of the day, the guy is a great offensive mind. Very, very well-respected coach around the league. However, some also don't agree with a lot of his antics. Sean Payton's an interesting guy. So I don't know, man, what to think. I just personally, I don't think that's something you go out and say, like you said, why? And now that puts pressure on you as a team, because now it's like, okay, now the previous regime was, as you say, did the worst job in history. So now you have to beat that by a lot, and you have to make it, the best coaching job in history. Yeah,
1 or 2 game improvement isn't going to be enough to cover what you laid down with those comments. So to me, it just seemed stupid. It just seemed like maybe there's some history there that we don't know about. Maybe maybe there's something in the past where he looked at his girl wrong or something. Like, I don't know. Because there's clearly that seemed like that kind of comment where it's just kind of bitter. you know, and it's like, oh, you know, forget that guy. You know, he's a chump. Like, I don't know. It didn't seem like something a professional head coach in the NFL would say.
Right. And he even threw some shade at the Jets, too. You know, it's like talking about the offseason, like, you know, we're not.
They wanted to win their offseason.
Yeah, win the offseason. And when they asked Robert Saleh about it, he's like,
yeah. I mean, Saleh took the high road, which is what you do as a professional and a leader of men.
Right. He said, hey, he's going to say what he wants to say, but, hey, you know what? We meet in week 4, so that's all there is to it. We're
It'll be a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Fun. Man, I hope they blow them out by like 40 points.
I know, me too. I know. I'm rooting against the Broncos now. I mean, I kind of always was because Russell Wilson, but as a Niner fan, it's hard to like Russell Wilson.
I get it. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be definitely very fun to watch, man. But Nick,
yes,
it's going to be awesome. But thank you, man, for hopping on the podcast today, talking some ball with us, man, and just, you know, the NFL, man, is back. So, you know,
love it.
We'll see.
Love it. Can't wait.
I can't wait, man. I love football. So training camp just got underway. So we're just scratching the surface right now. And I mean, nobody's even in pads yet, dude. So we got a ways to go, but we're almost there. So thank you for coming on, man, and just chopping it up with some football.
Anytime, buddy. Go enjoy some camp video right now. I know that's what I'm going to do as soon as I end this thing.
Yeah, me too.
All right, we'll see you.
All right, Nick.